Hello, and welcome to Black Crow Gaming. I'm your host Aaron, and tonight I'm joined by Dom and Toby. Give us a wave, guys.
Sup.
Hello.
Oh, come on, that was like probably the least unenthusiastic.
Sup!
There we go. Tonight, guys, we are going to be talking about Peterborough Slam. And what happened at Peterborough Slam. And so basically this was a tournament that you both went to this weekend. And you both did very well at. So this episode, we're going to spend some time. We're going to look at the maps. We're going to look at how you both, what armies you both took. And we're also going to have a look at how you prepared both for your games, how you looked at the maps, and how you analysed exactly what you were going to do. And as Dom, we know you're a guard player, basically you sat behind the biggest piece of terrain, put all your mind behind there, and did fuck all for the entire game. No. I'm joking. Uh-oh. First 2 minutes and I've already sworn. That's a problem, YouTube. I'm so sorry. Anyway.
Aaron, just sorry before you keep going, mate. There is apparently quite the echo.
An echo? There you go. The echo should be gone by now.
All right, can chat just confirm if our echo has gone, please?
No, the echo's gone. I know what was wrong. It was I got all excited and I was like, oh, I need to put up Dom's volume. I need to put up Toby's volume, and then I put up Aaron's volume. But then I have a different external volume, so I was like, I just put up my volume twice. Anyway,
this is Tio voice.
You just want to be heard.
I want everyone to hear me twice. Yep, see, gone. Luke knows.
Awesome.
Anyway, but before we do any of this and we get into anything, we need to talk about a couple things that we've got going on at the minute. So Black Crow are doing a giveaway. Toby, go on. As you've done a lot of the marketing for this, tell us what the giveaway is about.
Yeah, so one of our sponsors, Terrain Forge, has very kindly donated a GT spec table tournament pack. So loads of really nice pieces of terrain, sort of done to the same specification that you'll see on our battle reports. It's really high quality, absolutely beautiful, and it's MDF, so it's like it can take a bit of a bashing around, but it also looks pretty rather than just like wood or polystyrene blocks. So you can see the ways to enter that on the screen currently. Like the post on either Instagram or Facebook. Share the post on Instagram or Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, or subscribe to the YouTube. We are 11 followers away from 500 on YouTube. So if you can give us a big old push on that, we would really, really appreciate it.
And how many entrants have we got for this so far, Toby, that you've had to be recording?
We have, and I'm recording this all manually, so I'm having to record both number of people in and the number of times they have put their name down, and it is currently just over 100 people, so it's about 300 to 400 entries.
Right. So just so everybody knows as well, this isn't going to be our only giveaway. We do have some other giveaways coming in the future. So make sure that you keep an eye out on what we're going to be doing, because once this one is done in just under a month's time, and we're going to announce the winner live on here. Poor old Toby's going to collate all that data, put it into a random name generator, and then hopefully we're going to get a winner. And it's not just going to be like Mystic Meg 1999 or whatever it's called. And the next thing you know, we've got to try and hunt down a Mystic Meg.
So weirdly, that is my friend's actual Instagram name. Like, that is legitimately, then it's spooky that you've done that, but that is one of my closest friends' Instagram name.
Oh, that was weird. Anyway, moving on swiftly away from that weirdness, we also need to talk about our wonderful sponsors. So as you can see, Terrain Forge has sponsored us for this wonderful giveaway. However, we are also now sponsored by not the one and only Glasshammer Gaming. They are, as you know, run by Manny and Dan up in the old Wolves, Telford area, and they have the Glass House, which is their gaming area and their gaming rooms, but they have an online store, and they currently do all of their Warhammer at 20% off, which is very cheap. But this is what we offer you people. If you, when you go to buy something from them, put in the code Black Crow, you get an additional 5%. And that's right, that means you get 25% off of your favourite Warhammer. And that is cheaper than probably any store you're going to find, unless some other store is doing a 25% discount or lower. And if that's the case, they don't exist. We're only talking about Glasshammer. So, so just to reiterate that, go to Glasshammer, pick your favourite toys, put in code Black Crow, and you get 25% discount, which is, you know, what the best way to get your plastic crack. And let's just look at Dom. Dom looks like he needs more plastic crack, so I'm sure he will make use of this at some point.
Oh yeah, too bad, but I always need more
Crack
I
or
think
plastic
one of
crack?
a bit
plastic
both.
crack.
I think one of the nicest things about the discount code, as well as you can use it for events and things like that. So even though Aaron's been trying to get me to buy my ticket for ages, my massive holding off of buying it has worked out, and I got mine cheaper.
Yeah, but how much did you pay for that ticket?
£3 whole less than you.
Oh, fuck off. Anyway,
it was 57 instead of 60.
hey, but you know what? You got a cheaper ticket out of it, so.
I did.
And if that makes you happy, Toby, that's fine. Right, let's get into the content and why you're all here tonight. So, we wanted to talk about Peterborough Slam. So, Toby and Dom, they both did very well. They went 4-1 at Peterborough Slam. Dom took his Astra Militarum, and Toby took his Dark Angels, which isn't Dark Angels, but he calls Dark Angels, but he also involves something else. I don't know. I can't keep up
Dark
with.
Iron Salamanders.
Yeah, that's it. Dark Iron Salamanders. Boo. Yeah.
Marine scum.
Yeah. Boo you, Toby. So anyway, let's have a look at the list. And we're going to start with Dom's first. So, Dom, you took your Astra Militarum, and here is your list. If people at home can read that, if you can't, I can make it a bit bigger. But anyway, talk us through your list, Dom, and why you built your list the way you did for Peterborough Slam.
Why did I build it? Right. So first off, caveat that I've had this army for 2 months. So I've spent the last 2 months painting it up. Actually, I've done a pretty good job. One of my friends was coming out of the hobby, and basically was just like, "Oh, I'll just give you this." So I had to get good, and this is a get good army because it's a bit of a stat check because there's only so many armies that can deal with it. Because at Peterborough Slam, they have a different train set, so they got their own set, which is I think Game Mat EU or something like that. And I really like it, and I've been there twice now, and every time I've had no
Dom,
problem.
just hang on one sec. We've lost sound on you.
Oh, what? Why?
Audio's gone silent.
Dude, we'll enjoy my dancing for a bit.
No. And then I.
Oh, it's back again. So it was just a random drop. Sorry about that, guys. When you do live, there is this thing called the interweb.
Yeah.
And anyway, it wasn't much. We just missed Dom speaking. Let's do right. Dom, start again.
Okay. So anyway, I'll just start with Peterborough Slam. So I basically looked at the train pack, and every train pack you've got to look at your train and say what can I abuse, what can I not take, what can I do this. Like UKTC is amazing for indirect pieces, so you can take like 4 to 6 indirect pieces, and you can hide all of them. But the mid board you can't really do much with guards, so then you've got to take durable units like Bulgren and that sort of stuff. So at Manchester, I took 4 indirect pieces, loads of Bulgren, real heavy hitters in the middle, just so I could get primary. A little different at Peterborough Slam. In the middle, it is open, but every map has an X where there's 2 shooting lanes rather than some terrain they have the one.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like that though, because every half of a deployment zone is heavy. So one side of the screen here would be heavy terrain, and then there's one on the other side. So you've got to rely on reserves, you've got to rely on transports, and big things like Redemptors, or for me tank commanders to. if I go up against the Dark Angels list where it goes, I'm just going to spam loads of transport, loads of gladiators, all that sort of stuff, and stay out of your 24-inch range, which is...
1 second, Tom. Sorry to bother you, mate. Your sound keeps dropping in and out, so I don't know if it's... so I think it's just yours. Are you able to drop out of the live and come back into the live? And
Yeah, sure.
we'll pick you up in a minute, and...
Toby, take over. Yeah.
Yeah, Toby can take over. Right, Toby. We're going to move on to Toby's, guys. The whole audio, not just Dom. But how could you, Sam?
It did look like your a couple of times your OBS was crashing.
Really?
Yeah, it was like disappearing from on the screen for me and then coming back. So I think that's what's doing it.
Okay. Right.
Well, let's just try and we'll see. We'll hope that maybe it's.
We're gonna go on to.
He's back.
onto Toby. So Toby, here you go. We will bring your list up, and then we'll talk about Dom. So Toby, Dom was talking about him teching in, and Toby, this is your list. So let's talk about your list.
Yeah. Okay. So I went for my normal of going for Firestorm in Dark Angels, which is not really Dark Angels, it's Azrael and then Salamanders, or Iron Salamanders as I'm calling them for this, because we need lots and lots of vehicles and everything like that. So my thoughts, usually you probably see me with a Land Raider Redeemer and 6 Eradicators. Now on Paul's terrain, there does tend to be, Paul is the tournament organizer for those that aren't in the know. He's also just in chat, VT Bridge. Amazing tournament, by the way, Paul. Really enjoyed it. It's hard to move over 6-inch vehicles around the map, as one of my opponents found out, and we will talk about that later. So it's really difficult to get around the map with a Redeemer. So I was like, okay, I'm going to drop that. And Gladiator Reapers seem to be the new hotness. And much like Dom, I was like, okay, what's the meta right now? It's either stat checky vehicles or lots of infantry that try and bum rush you. And we've spoken about that quite a lot on the meta. And I'm like, okay, so my Redemptors and my Storm Speeder, they will, and the Inceptors coming in with twin linked, they will delete basically anything that I need to go, and they proved that multiple times. There was actually only one game where I did do the Storm Speeder Deep Strike along with the Inceptors Deep Strike because I needed to hide, but that's by the by, that'll come up later. So that was my anti-tank for when I needed to go into the stat check, and then the Gladiators sort of just picked up infantry for fun. And then from there, I had the Scouts just for some scoring. The Phobos Lieutenant, not Phobos Lieutenant, Phobos Librarian. Whose idea was that, Dom? I don't know.
I just said you need to get good, and that's the best way you get good. You go, I'll make a lone op unit on a board I can't hide in 2 areas on. Done.
Yeah, so it actually ended up being one of my best units in a couple of matchups. So it was. To play against indirect, because I was expecting a lot of guard. Obviously I was expecting Dom, and Dom the whole time was going, I'm going to play you, I'm going to play you, I'm going to play you. So I was like, okay, well, let's prep for Dom trying to bum me. So I needed something for Azrael. So Azrael was usually standing on his own, but he could go with the intercessors. And then the sound is about as stable as Toby. Brilliant. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate that, bro. But okay, we're back. Yeah. And I thought, okay, well, we'll do that, and then sticky objectives. It lets me throw that extra unit in the fight if I don't want to defend my home, and it's a really tight central fight. So I'd cut out after Toby was talking about adding the librarian. You didn't miss anything. I talked about my scoring, so that's about it. So the zeitgeist of that was Storm Speeder is brilliant. Inceptors still good. Won't be playing 9 anymore. And then listen to Dom, because Dom actually knows what he's talking about.
Sometimes he knows what he's talking about.
I do, yeah, sometimes. But Librarian, when I didn't see it in your list, I was like, that's the one thing that goes at the top of my list when I scroll up and down on a marine list that I'm playing. I'm like, does he have the Librarian? Do they have them? Okay, good. They don't have them. Easy win. If they do have them, I'm like, well, I can't get in his backfield now, and I can't deep strike on him. I can't do this. Like in some matches, you can just deploy him really aggressively on like an L, and then I can't touch him because you're just going to hide. You're then screening a quarter of the board. So yeah, amazing unit. They're like the MVP. They're so good.
Yeah, so they ended up doing that for me in my third game against Grey Knights. So I'll come on to that shortly. But yeah, they really impressive unit. 12-inch deep strike deny is just, if you've got it as a tool in your army, I just think you have to be bringing it.
And low enough, so you literally can't deep strike and shoot them.
Or charge them because it's outside of 12.
Yeah, unless you can just get aggressive, you can't deal with them. But yeah, fair.
Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring up the Peterborough Slam missions and mission pack. So let's get the tournament pack up first, and we'll have a look what the mission was. So I'm just going to interact with that briefly, just to try and get there. We go. So let's get this up. Here we go. And we'll scroll over. There we go. So, round 1 was search and destroy, priority target, and secret intel. And the map looked a little bit like this.
To be fair, no one wants to hear about my round 1. So I think it's fine just for Dom to talk about that, because absolutely no one wants to hear what happened in.
Well, we're not going to talk about the round 1. We're going to talk about how you guys prepared. So was this the map loadout for your round 1?
Yes, that was it.
Yeah.
Primary target, secret intel. I just want to give also a massive credit to Peterborough Slam. This pack is fantastic.
It's good.
The way that you've done your maps and the way that you're able to see the objectives, and just this little bit at the bottom, I think super clean, and it's definitely the way forward to go for tournaments. It's very, very clean, very nice. So anyway, this was your round 1. So you had quite a bit of time to prepare mentally for what you wanted to do before you knew what your opponent was bringing. So when you saw your matchup, how did you react? What did you change? Where did you go?
Before I even knew the matchup, the first thing I did was I got on TTS and deployed my army in every single terrain map, so I knew exactly where all of my indirect pieces go, tank commanders go, and where I could have used the Kazakin moves and Bullgrim pushes. So that was like, if I'm prepping for an event, that's the first thing I do, is just make sure I jump on TTS, go through all of the scenarios, so when I come to the table, I don't have to think, and if I'm put on the clock, I just go bang, 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 bang. Everything goes here, everything goes there, everything goes there. And then I did scenarios as well where if I play mental games with my opponents by putting 3 tank commanders literally on the line, going, if I go first, they're all going to get ordered, and then they're going to go bang straight in your face, and then it's like, oh god. So people start to play, put them back. I then redeploy them into reserves or on the other side of the board after they're deployed. So that's the sort of tricks I was trying to get, and what looking in my deployments and where I could kind of get away with that, because my whole game plan is mind games as like whilst I'm playing, because it's horrendous getting hit with stuff you can't hide from. Then if you come out, you get hit with tank commanders. But for this one, my matchup round 1, so I knew my matchup, and it was probably one of the best players that were going to this event, a guy called Connor Nichols, who every event I've ever been to where he's been there, he's only dropped 1 game, and he is always always on it. And me and him actually talk a lot about the different armies because he also chases the meta as well. And when we're on CSM, me and him were always chatting. And he's generally like an incredible player. And he was the one. There was two players I didn't want to play round one, and it was him on this map helped me a little because I could get aggro when he couldn't as much, which was nice. But yeah, this is an interesting mission because you basically at the middle of the middle, there's that massive L, which you'd agree, Toby, that's the main staging point where you can harass two objectives. But what ideally you want to do is go to the top and stay there and play the angles with your tanks where it's just 5 inches on the left hand side there, so that you can basically play keep away and hold that top objective, which isn't usually the objective you try and hold, but that's the best one there because that big L allows you to push out 4 inches and then harass like that. So this is a really good map. It's probably my favorite map of the weekend, if I'm honest, because it is just so like cagey and gamey, and like combat armies on this are very, very scary in this. Like, that was the mindset going into this one. It's like you can't hold the middle, you have to hold one of the outsides. The one on you usually feel is your safe one, which is the one to the right. Not the case. It's the top one because that's where you can kind of like harass and double down.
So it's an interesting way that so we talk about TTS, and it's something that I've recently downloaded and I've started having a bit to play with. I'm yet to learn how to use it, but I've got everything in place to learn how to use it. And I think actually the thing that's most interesting about it, and I think that's actually probably most useful about it, isn't necessarily playing a game on TTS, because I don't necessarily think it reenacts a real life scenario.
No,
one of our watchers we've got in a minute, Harley, me and him were actually having a chat about TTS, and he's an extremely good player, goes to tournaments, does very well, plays TTS, and he's dog. And I think he just gets diced a bit, but he just, like he says, he just doesn't understand it. So I don't think necessarily it's a really accurate way of playing the game, but I think it's a very good way of working out how you do your missions and how you deploy and where you go and what you do. And I thought we was going to have a fourth member of the podcast there, Toby. That would have been great.
No, we are going to have me briefly go and get in the dog because apparently it's pissing down outside and he's refusing to come in. So I'll be back in 2 minutes.
So TTS is an amazing resource simply because it allows you to kind of like get the practice in without being on the tabletop, where you can actually have all your models there. So I've always maintained like good practice like that means that when you come to the tabletop, you don't actually have to think as much. And I'll never submit a list to a tournament unless I've gone through the entire event pack, seeing where everything goes. It's just it just gives you a leg up over your opponent in most cases because you're prepared.
I think that's a very good way of putting it. So what we're going to have a look at next is, let's have a look at the next mission. So it was Map D, Hammer and Anvil, take and hold, sweep and clear. So let's find that. So Map D. Here we go. So Map D, Hammer and Anvil, which is this one, or Hot Dog as some people like to call it.
This is a good one as well, to be fair, because if you look at the bang in the center, that center objective has terrain on it. But yes, it's got the perspex, but unless you cross the perspex, you cannot see through it.
No,
because both points like this. It's really, I thought it was really well designed, and I quite like how it's staged in. Because if you are the first one to push on it, you can either hide behind it or you can get into the ruin, which is quite nice. The only problem I had on this was where it says 30 inches top left. That's ideally where you want to be staging a unit. Let's say you're playing your army, you want like wardens there because you want to go from ruin to ruin.
Right.
There you can't, and it's quite.
So if I was playing my custodian, Dom, I would essentially I'd ignore. So the top left side, I'd go for the bottom three here. So that one.
Well, Well. 1 second. You know the big tea cake thing?
Yeah, the hexagonal.
To the right of that, there's 0 lines of sight to it. So there's no angle you can actually hit that. And when I worked that out, I just put a tank commander there because there's literally no angles from top left down, and all of them overlap. So you could put a custodian guardian in there. I thought that was quite clever because it meant that you could just put some Russian combat units in and around that tea cake to get cover or whatever you need to. If someone was aggressive.
What was the hexagon? That is a hexagon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hill, but it's also a ruin.
Yeah.
Chris, are you trolling me? That is a hexagon. I've just doubted myself live on stream.
Yeah, so I think that was quite nice. But where the actual 30 number is, that's where you kind of want stuff. So it made for quite a dynamic shift as armies kind of rotated round, which was quite interesting because you basically heavily put stuff in the big box L ruin, and then as the game goes round, you kind of like weave your way to it. Right. So it's quite interesting. It gives everyone a good primary game, which is nice. And also, if you drop in a lone op, it right in that corner behind the obscuring, it's so hard to kill.
Yeah. So I had a really interesting dynamic in this game with the terrain, the low terrain, the like 1-inch terrain, the area ruin, and that was that I was against Drakari and my opponent had Scourges, so they could jump into that terrain feature, jump out of that terrain feature. Yeah, it was really, and I was just like, okay, that's going to be a problem. Luckily for me, I did have Inceptors, so that sort of dealt with the problem.
As they do.
Yeah, but what I will say on this map, the fact that it was sweep and clear as a secondary mission kind of thing, that helped me so much because like when you've got as much infiltrate as my list did, it was like, cool, I'm going to infiltrate really far up the board. Well, I infiltrated and scouted, and then managed to score behind enemy lines. Turn 1.
Nice. Basically, for those that don't know, by the way, sweep and clear. In this mission, if the player controls an objective marker at the end of their command phase, that objective marker remains under their control. So essentially, you have sticky objectives, even if they have no models within range of it, unless their opponent controls it at the end of any subsequent command phase.
Yeah, so it was absolutely brilliant for just kind of getting my infiltrators there, then throwing them forward. And so the scouts, there was quite a moment. I was against Patrick, who is actually now a crow as well. And we had a bit of a laugh how the scouts were a bit like Sam in the third Lord of the Rings, where he just goes, I don't think we're expected to go home, Mr. Frodo. So they sold their lives at a very high cost, though. And to be honest, because I was able to be that aggressive, I had to be that aggressive into this Drakari army, I think, with those particular units, because then suddenly my Reapers and Dreadnoughts had soft targets to go into. Once you've got that soft underbelly, they just die. It was potentially also a little bit of a deployment error on Patrick's side, and potentially he was thinking it was a bit more like the UKTC mission 3 and 4 setup, and that there wasn't going to be a firing line down where there was a firing line on the big L going across.
That was a harsh angle. That was. Yeah.
So because of that, I was able to like pick up a raider that had Lilith in, which So Lilith's raider got popped turn 1. 3 of the witches died jumping out. It was a bit of like a turn 1 went so well for me that the outcome was decided there and then, unfortunately. But it was, well, not unfortunately, I did get to win. But it was an absolutely brilliant game, and I really liked the map. The Scourges were particularly spicy on this map.
So we're going to have a look at we'll go to the third round now. So let's bring up the old. So the third one was Map G, Crucible Battle, Purge Foe, Chilling Reign. So.
I love Purge.
So map.
With indirect. Oh my lord.
So this was Map G.
So
Dom, do you want to start on this?
well, I didn't play terrain. I didn't play this terrain.
Oh, of course you didn't.
No, I played on like a medieval table.
It was the resin,
it
same
was like
same producer.
the perfect terrain for God, where your home is like a complete wall and nothing can see in, and then use 2 bits where tank commanders go, and then the mid board was you can only hold objectives if you're infantry, and I was against Thousand Suns with Magnus. I was
to
like,
be fair,
that's good.
Your opponent did drop from day 2 because they wanted to start a fish and chip shop because they had so much salt to give out.
He was salty about the terrain. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, he wasn't happy.
I was next to Dom and his opponent, and I try and avoid flaming people, but like the amount of salt radiating off this individual, it got a bit ridiculous. And in all honesty, I don't mind if that individual does here, because like, just do better, man. It wasn't cool. Like, you know, it's toy soldiers. Don't be that salty, unless again you want to open a chip shop. Anyway, Dom, you carry on.
I was desperate to play on this terrain because of how I would be able to hide my indirect on the bottom left. Have a look at that. You could fit all of the indirect in there, and it will never be shot. And I was like, oh my god! And then at the top, that's where all my Bulgren go. Fantastic. They're just going to be going in and out of that building all day. Tank commander at the top. Oh.
So one of the questions we've got in chat, Dom, is why was you playing on a different set of terrain?
Because all the tables at Peterborough Slam are random. So if you're winning all your games, you could be playing on the bottom table because it's just the way the terrain layout is. So yeah, it's just what it is. Yeah.
Was the individual 15 years old? No, that was the last round that Dom bullied a 15-year-old.
But then
you did do a lovely practice game with him afterwards.
Yeah, I felt so sorry for him because he
I think he's in chat.
He never played the match before and didn't really understand.
Oh wait, so hold on. So I think this was a joke to something else, but did you actually play a teenager, Dom?
I know what he's on about. He's not funny by saying this. But I did play like a 16-year-old who was, it was like he just won 2 games in a row, so he knows his stuff, so it's fine.
Oh, okay.
He basically frontlined a Grey Knights army, went first, moved up, and then I was just like, cool, tank commanders, melter range, and picked up his turn 1 just from tank commanders. It was Dreadnought dead. Then with indirect, I picked up all of his action monkey units. So he just at the end of turn 2, he only had paladins left, and I was like, oof. So the game finished in like about 45 minutes. So then what I did was I basically just said, like, let's go outside, let's have a chat, let's sit down and have a chat about what went wrong and everything like that. And Paul jumped in as well, and then we basically just went through exactly how you beat guard. So if he did it again, this is what he would do. And I felt like it was quite good and receptive about it. And like I never like beating someone that dramatically. So it was, for me personally, because I coach people as well. I would just put that hat on with Paul, and we both were just like, let's just make this a good experience, because you never want to leave like a sour taste in someone's mouth. So we basically spent the next like 2 hours just playing a second game, but I was advising on what to do, but then also questioning his decisions so that he realized, because you can't know every army, right? And there was a lot of guard players there, and I wanted to make sure that if he played another guard player, he would be able to beat them, sort of thing, because of the different decisions. And it dramatically changed how he played in the second game, which I was really thankful. And I really like the guy. He's really nice, really nice guy, and he's got a lot of potential as well, which is good. So hopefully I can see him at another event, and yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have been saying that, you know, Theo is. I know he is in chat, but you know, I'll give him a big old shout out here. Because I've heard lots of people saying he's got a huge amount of potential to really perform, and the fact that he's starting when he's 15 is even better. The fact that you'll have the years where your brain actually absorbs information. Learning from top players like Dom, like Paul. Actually played Alan during the week as well, so it was you'll be up in the rankings, and I'm sure that the Peterborough guys will take good care of you as well.
Yeah.
But yes, there was so many bloody guard players in the room. I dodged them all, thank fuck, but there was too many of them.
So, because we kind of went off a little bit of a tangent there, guys, I want to get back to talking about the maps.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So,
I played on this one. I was like straight up. This was my tightest game I played all weekend.
So, how did you prepare on this map, Toby? What was it that you did for this map?
So I was against Grey Knights. So I was like, okay, opponent is going to be. We're playing Purge. He has about 6 units because it was very much once I saw the matchup, because the matchup was 2 Land Raider Redeemer, a Storm Raven, 3 Dread Knights, a Grandmaster in Dread Knight suit, and a couple of Razorbacks with strike squads in. So the Razorbacks could scout and everything like that. And I was like, okay. What do? I was like, okay, he can do loads of uppy downy bullshit. If they start getting in my backfield, they're going to pick up my infantry for fun. The likelihood is as well they could do quite a bit of damage to my tanks as well. My Reapers might particularly struggle. However, the Redemptors, I don't see him having as much of a positive way to deal with them. So I was like, okay, if I can keep this speeder alive as well, then I should be okay. Storm Raven starts off the field, which was really nice for me. One very interesting thing that we found was that with the small terrain, you only need true line of sight. Yeah, that's pretty rough when you got like a load of stuff hiding behind it, and then a Storm Raven flies on and you're like,
goodbye.
That's no longer obscuring. Luckily, a Storm Raven has a lot more bark than bite, in terms of the fact that it does throw out a lot of damage, but for its points, it doesn't throw out as much damage as, say, a Land Raider Redeemer or a classic Land Raider. It is a lot more that speed and the fact that it can drop a Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Which Grey Knights don't really do. So in terms of prep, I was like, okay, get these infiltrators in as good a position as possible. They are going to be the MVP this round. Absolutely. I need them to be alive at the end of the game. If they are, I've probably won. And then I used the big L to kind of stage as heavily as I could, because when I looked at the map, I went round to Jamie, who was my opponent, actually one of Aaron's partners from a doubles tournament, the first ever tournament I played, one of the Sons of War players, absolutely brilliant guy. He could only get his Land Raider really out from the over the terrain piece with the little L at the top end of the screen. So as in I was on the left, he was on the right. So yeah, he could only get his Land Raider Redeemer out that way. So I was like, okay, if I put the speeder here and then the Redemptors here as well, then that should give me enough punch to potentially put a big old dent in these Land Raider Redeemers. And the fact that they're -1 damage as well stops the Flamers from being utterly bonkers, because otherwise those Flamers are stupid good. So when they then came out, I must admit there was some amount of lucky rolling on, well, not lucky rolling on my part. I rolled reasonably bang average, but Jamie rolled horrendously on his 3-up saves for his Land Raider Redeemer, and it through both smoke and AOC, the speeder and a crack missile from a scout squad put it to 1 wound.
Wow.
Oof.
So
it was, yeah.
You did good. Roll
Yeah,
some good dice, Toby.
Well, and I mean, it wasn't so much the dice rolling. It was more so I was able to go, okay, you can only get Redeemers out here. That's all you can do. Mm-hmm. And you can't do your key deep striking, because I was also covering the center from my big L with a Gladiator. So it was really difficult for him to actually try and take that center with any of his strike squads, because if they went there, the likelihood was I would get an angle from there, or the Gladiator on the bottom could pop out into the terrain and shoot towards the center. So it really limited his options. And even though we were on Purge the Phone, I think I was on against 7 units. I think I scored kill more basically every turn apart from, I think it was 3 out of the 2 turns I scored kill more.
Wow. So
Only
sounds like a good round. So we're going to move on. We're going to look at the next map, Toby and Dom. So let's get up the map pack, the tournament pack. So round 4 was sweeping engagement, supply drop, and secret intel. So what was that again? That was map E.
Yeah, this was. Is that was it? No, that was the old one.
Dom, I'd be interested. I'm gonna pose a bit of a question to you. It's this one. I'm gonna pose a bit of a question to you on this one. Can you prepare for this before the game properly starts?
No, you can't.
No.
No. So the only way. So the reason why he asked that question, chat, is because you don't know if which objective is going to disappear. And as soon as I realized what mission it was, I went straight over to Paul, and I was just like, I asked this at every event. It's been ruled twice differently, so please just tell me. And it was, can I redeploy before or after we find out when they disappear? Because they happen exactly at the same time in the rules. So it's up to the TO's discretion to let me to tell me which one to do. And I'd rather be told by a TO what the proper way to play it is, rather than, because like people who are a bit gamey or just a bit, shit, they will not read the rules properly, and they will just be like, oh, so over there, so I'm just going to redeploy my army over here. And it's horrible when people do that. So I always like to play fair. I always play the best of my ability, but within the rules as well. So I asked him straight away, and he didn't know what to do, because he goes, "It's a huge advantage for you, Dom." And I was like, "I know. That's why I'm asking you, and you have to make a decision." And he goes, "You can't do it. You have to redeploy before." And I was like, "Totally fair." And there's only one ability in the game that can do it after, but luckily for me, 4 of my units have scout, so I'm able to like shift focus. But what was quite good is in my one, the middle stayed, and I was like, that's the fairest way to do it. Middle stayed to the end. The first one to go was the right one, the second one to go was the left one, so I had a bit of an advantage there. But I had a bigger advantage, I think, because if you have a look at the map, Aaron, on the left, all my opponent has at the top left objective is the tea cake. When if it was on the other side, he could prepare with waves and waves and waves of rubrics. But top left means that all I need to do is basically drive a tank commander up aggressively with Kazakin and a Bulgren squad, and I basically hold that side, because then I just play keep away with my indirect. So I was quite happy with that. But I like this terrain a lot, because from the right side shooting to the left side, there's that massive from the middle to your deployment zone obscuring piece of terrain. And it's perfect for tanks. So like Redemptor's walking up there, you can have like grav tanks positioned there, all these different types of units which will really benefit from it. Infantry can't, they have to be more left side focused, but that middle section is built for tanks, because you can drive straight over it, you can do all these different things. So it created a really nice terrain set for me. I had quite a one-sided matchup in this, because I was against Thousand Suns for the second game in a row, and Thousand Suns versus Guard is just a loss before you turn up, sadly, because everything is just efficient. Like I do homers, and then I do assassinate. By the end of the game, I get max or drop a couple of points on homers, and all I have to do in this mission then is I just play Dum Dum, and I basically wait till the end of turn 4, and then end of turn 3, and then turn 4, I put as many units as I can physically fit on that middle objective. So I basically spend the game just knocking out all his OC. So last turn, he cannot physically take that objective off me. And on that last turn, I put 9 Bulgrin, then the commander's unit, which has the banner, so it's already OC3 on each model, and then I also gave them an extra OC. And I was like, "There's literally no." I had about 60 OC on it, and he was just like, "All right," but it was. I thought this terrain was actually really good, really, really. I think this is one of the best ones, especially for vehicles, because in a lot of terrain matchups, vehicles can't hide. This was insanely dense, like insanely dense. If Paul's listening to this in the chat, like this was really, really good for vehicles because you could actually hide them, but you could use that big flat obscuring terrain to get line of sight. So I thought this was probably one of the best for vehicles maps out there. This is a quality map.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I really liked the map. I am going to give a slightly opposite talk about it because it was a weird setup for me, to be honest. So I was up against MSU Eldari with triple D cannon, which is 24-inch. If you're within 24-inch, you're fucked. So I was like, okay.
Did you replace that in the middle in that big ruin and go, if you come to the middle, you're dead? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, so it was literally if it's the middle one, I lose the game. I literally could not win the game. If it was the bottom by the top end hexagon, wasn't overly good for me. Well, actually, let's say I'm the red. At the top one, absolutely spot on. There's a bit of space. He's not got many units over there.
You jump from ruin to ruin.
Yeah. Exactly. It was spot on. The other side, it's a lot of open ground that I need to cover realistically to get there because I have to kind of go over that terrain. And once I get in that terrain, there's a lot of firing lines for him to absolutely pound me with his shadow specters and things like that. So I was at the mercy of the dice, and I got lucky. Ultimately, the first disappearing was the bottom right-hand one, and the last to disappear was the top left.
You lucky boy! Wow.
I really was.
That literally goes, here's the win.
Literally. So it went from this game will be unwinnable if it is here. It started off with
flips, it literally flips for you. If it's literally disappear, here's because that's what happened when I was against Jack Titan. I was just like, what can I do?
I know. There was two objectives where it stayed. I met one of them on 100% loss. The other one, 85% loss. That one, 50-50. And then because there were so many good angles for tanks and things like that, I was just able to deny primary. My opponent scored fully on secondary because again, it's potentially draw 3 if you'd like to with the cards. So he scored fully on secondaries, but he only scored 5 on primary.
Whoa!
Yeah, so it was a bit strange, I would say, because he played extremely cagey. He had 15 shadow specters basically just like chilling at the back, and I'm like, I get it. You're afraid of the fact that I can just pick you up with a Redemptor, pick you up with a Speeder, that kind of thing. Yeah. Like if he, I will say a slightly funny story from this game in a minute, but like there was a lot of reasons that he had to be afraid. But I think he was a little bit too cautious, and it just, because I then went, okay, I'm going to be aggressive, but stay out of 24, it ended up working out for me. However, someone made a bit of a boo-boo in that game and forgot to screen his anus and had 10 scourges drop in his bum. 10 scourges drop in his bum. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I shit the bed. Okay, I shit the bed. But then
was it too
scourges?
You have a unit which denies 12 inches.
I know, I shit the bed. So the scourges then whiffed on their shooting. Opponent had 15 scourges. No, not yet. Then the Sybarites shot. So Sybarites are 3 shots. Strength. Fucking irrelevant into attack. Wounding on 6s. He rolled all the hits, triple 6s to wound. Okay, 4 up saves. I rolled none of them. Next one, hits with all of them, triple 6s to wound. I roll none of the saves. Half of my gladiator's wounds go just because of that, and then it dies. And then He overwatches my other gladiator with his haywires. The haywires don't kill it in Overwatch. It's left with 1 wound. Guess what fucking killed it?
What?
Sybarite.
Love that.
I lost just over 300 points because
to
that
Drakari.
yeah. Well, no, it wasn't Drakari. It was Yanari. It was Yanari. And if he hadn't got insanely lucky with those Sybarites, that game would have been really quite comfortable, and that would have purely been because of the objective placements.
Yeah.
I actually rolled, I think, possibly the worst I've ever rolled in a game and still managed to win.
Oh,
I don't know how.
Talk about that. That's giving me flashbacks already. My God.
So let's move on, guys, to the next mission. We're going to talk about the last one. So this was round 5. So Dawn of War, Scorched Earth, and Hidden Supplies.
Cry.
So
I actually wonder
A
on this map what the win rate was for people who went first.
I can't remember if I went first.
I wonder what the win rate is, because you can just basically deny them primary for the rest of the game. Interesting.
No, I went second.
Basically, because it's like, look, if it's quite interesting the way the objective markers are. Because there's 2 you can't hide on, and then 2 you can, but you can just basically shove them off.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to just like out-OC your opponent on it from the other side of a wall.
So when you saw this map, and this was your round 5, so obviously the big L is there, it nice in your deployment, away from objectives, but you are within staging range of 3 objectives quite comfortably there.
Yeah.
So I imagine this one isn't a terrible one for a combat army if they want to just sit on primary. But the thing is they've still got a long way to go. If they start in this left-hand corner, they've got a long way to go to get to their opponent. So how did you guys plan for this one? Because I know you both brought quite shooty orientated lists. Toby always brings shooty orientated lists because he can't do combat.
It's a skill.
Don't care. Too much thinking. Fuck off. I'm gonna shoot you first.
I love combat. But anyway, we have this. So how did you both plan for this, other than Dom just sitting his army behind the big L and just indirecting stuff?
You guys clearly don't understand how guard play. Like,
the minutia of the guard player.
No.
It's not just indirect and sit there. It's not just indirect and I sit there. Oh!
Right. Whatever that was. They're so fast and they're so aggressive. Like turn 2, I'm in your deployment zone. Like that's the speed they go. I play combat so much. Like I've got my combat units, Kazakin, Bullgrim, Gaunt's Ghost. Great combat. The only thing left is the shooting stuff, which is 2 tank commanders and 3 indirect pieces.
What? How are Kazakin in combat? Because just a quick
good.
Yeah, because I've
so good into what though, Dom?
Because I charge you and just chuck a mine at you.
Oh right, so you do mortals on the charge.
Yeah, but they get like 2 attacks each, and then there's a power sword in there as well.
They're not good into custodes, but they're good into everything else.
Nothing is good into custodes in combat. Let's be honest. Oh,
it's a bit of a silly comparison. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you did see a single custodian player at this event.
Like 5 Marines versus 10 Kazakin, because 10 Kazakin win that fight.
Yeah, because you're more.
They just do. Not even without the mortals. It's just weight of dice.
Yeah, fair enough.
You just do it. But the best thing about Kazakin is like you move 9, you shoot, charge stuff, and it's like turn 1. If you can pull that off, you're like in their deployment zone. They're just so good. And also you can do that and then screen as well and trail back in like a wine glass sort of shape like that. It's real good. So this terrain, I thought if there was any terrain that I could get for the Necron match at the end, this was the one I wanted. And because versus his big units and Catans, he simply cannot hide from me. But sadly, I whiffed for 3 whole turns of shooting, and then overcompensated in 1 turn with 1 tank commander just one-shotting a Wraith unit, just going dead. It was a bit much. It was a bit much, but I was very happy because it made up for 3 turns of not killing anything.
So
it was mental.
Ryan in the chat, Dom, has just put that it was 50% of people going first won this game.
Oh, that's a good win rate then.
So it's 50-50. So
I like
straight
that.
down the middle.
Well done, Paul.
Yeah, that's good. That is good.
And it seems like, because obviously the tournament was won by a player who you hadn't met before. He brought. You have met him before, but he brought a triple Catan list, which is pretty gross. How long these sorts of lists are going to live for? I don't know.
Only a month.
Yeah, is that how long we've got until the next?
We got a month. We got a month to the next day of slate. So the Catans, I think they should do 3 things. I think they should give them new bases because they're all on tiny bases.
Yeah,
I think all Catans need to go up 50 points minimum per one. Nightbringer probably 100 points. And then they need to make the character that goes with the Wraiths, have him just not be able to join him, and then leave the army. That's all you need. If you want the Eldar approach, fine. If you want to do the CSM approach where you put him in the ground, then you get rid of the Nurgle strat, you make it 3 CP. What you do is you just say, all your good rules. Oh, yeah. Get rid.
Look at him having his little salty moment. You're still top of CSM.
I miss my Abaddon list so much. It wasn't even like,
Yeah, it was actually just a quick shout out. It was JP from Team Redacted that took those Necrons to the 5-0. And not only are Redacted incredible sports, they're also incredible players. One of their other players, Matt Farris, took down 2 crows, myself and Corbin. And yeah, they're really great team. Obviously, we are scrapping them over a custard cream, and Luke and I have decided that we're going to do something a little bit special for the ITT of baking a giant custard cream. But yeah, well done, JP. Absolutely amazing win.
VT Bridge just come in. News title: Local boy JP topples indirect Dom. And what was it that Dom always does, Toby? Just indirect. Indirect.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that again. We'll get struck for porn. But I mean, you got absolutely flamed in the fucking awards process, though, Dom.
I know. Yeah.
It's always the bridesmaid, eh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's always that. Yeah, always. Last time third, this time second, next time win. No one can say that.
So
next time it's mine.
So Peterborough Slam, although for the terrain layouts, as you can see from there, it doesn't necessarily suit.
Can I quickly talk about that one?
Talk about what?
That map. I didn't get to talk about the map.
What map? This map?
That map. Yeah, round 5.
No, you all waffled for too long. I'm moving it on.
You waffled too long. Get rid. Next.
Go on, Toby. Before we don't want to see a grown man cry on stream.
He's a man.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, there was fuck all spots for me to hide, to be honest. So it was going to be a tough one, and it was into Thousand Suns, which is one of my worst matchups. And then I just sort of got a bit lucky on the old dice. But yeah, this one was very open. This was probably my worst mission.
It's hard.
I'd say it was really tough. Especially round 5, like when you're pretty mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
But in terms of prepping, it was more just looking at my opponent's army and going, okay, Magnus has to die.
This map as well. I just want one thing. If Paul's listening, I'm sure he is. You can't have the middle so open. You can't have it like that in the future because he and myself could just shoot into the ones you're supposed to hide nice and safe, like in the middle. From the sides, we can bring a tank commander on and go bang. Nothing lives in there. So I think just as a note for future, you can't have anything in there. But deployment zone for me personally was fine. But that's because I just ball up in one corner and then tank commanders on the front line.
Yeah, I mean, it's partly the deployment itself, isn't it? Dawn of War is always a difficult one to balance terrain on. I think that's the one that even UKTC, like that's probably my worst
Mm.
one as well, because I can't efficiently harden it, and I don't play many units, so it's that's a rough one. But I think it's more Dawn of War rather than the train setup. But I do agree, the fact that big cross from the top left hand corner to the bottom right, that was difficult. I lost a Redemptor just, even though it was hoping to be fully obscure, but it absolutely wasn't.
Mm.
So I will say one thing, because obviously I have a slight involvement with Peterborough Slam and its prep in the background. One thing Paul is extremely good at is he does listen to his player base, and
Yeah, he does.
he is developing more scenery to go on, so that he can change the way that these maps will look in the future. I know we talked about it pre-stream that he's got another piece of terrain that's coming in and so on.
Mm.
So I think it's exciting to be a part of the Peterborough Slam community, because ultimately the maps are going to change, the terrain will change. We're going to see, hopefully, maybe one day Paul will give some love to some combat armies and make it so that there's some
You can easily do that with that terrain.
All right then,
because-
Don. You turn up with a pure combat army and play there then.
Honestly, I think you could quite happily.
I've got to sell a bet. So I've got
we can hear yours, and then we're going to hear what Toby has to play at Oxford.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
playing that at Oxford.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not spending £60 and playing that.
I am. So I've been saying that I can win a GT with CSM after the nerf. Oh, they're so good. I bet it wins a GT with all these lists. And then my mate's just like, go on then, do it. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I'm going to try and take CSM and see if I can win something.
I do like that list you've got, because you
savage.
I
think like the chaos version
Hold on. We can't sit there and talk about a list, Dom, unless you're going to tell the people what you're actually.
Keep it a surprise for a bit longer
in the list. And if you're not going to do that, and you're not going to tell them, we'll wait, because I want people to actually know what you're going to run.
What, me?
Yeah, what's this savage CSM list?
Yeah, so it basically revolves around a Baden and a Hellbrute. So your whole army is going to get reroll hits, and everything is going to auto win on 5s, and everything is going to explode on 5s. Then it's all really tough, because it's basically predator with las cannons, autocannon, then loads of piddly shots. Triple forge fiend, because there's almost nothing in the game that does that amount of damage. And then it's plague marines and rhinos, which come out, jump out, and flip objectives, and they can shoot stuff off objectives, then charge another one. Very, very good. Then you've got basically just a load of synergy revolving around one area, which basically means you can't interact with half the board. And then the other half of the list is basically keeping you away from the guns. So it does work. It's also got Vect in there as well to get rid of armor contempt, and uppy downy, and Nurglings.
Sam's favourite. So Paul is just talking about when the next Peterborough Slams are. So if you want to know when the next Peterborough Slams are, if you want to come to these events, please find us on Facebook. It's just Peterborough Slam. We have a list of all of the upcoming events, and we post them on the actual Facebook itself. We will potentially have a new website coming very soon, where you'll be able to buy your tickets from as well. Like I said, Paul's very good. He's very interactive with his community and his crowd, and we're a big fan of Peterborough Slam, so much so that you're going to get a Emperor Toby certifies this as quality. Let's get that in the right space. There you go. Quality certified Emperor Toby Peterborough Slam. Look at that face. Toby, when did I take that? That was at the doubles, wasn't it? And you'd got really...
That was actually against Paul.
Yeah, you'd got really rather smashed in that, if I remember rightly.
I was quite drunk by then, and it was actually against Luke and Paul. Luke and I were fucking around a huge amount by then. We were both several siders deep, so we and like because we were both 1-on-1 in a one day event, we didn't give a fuck what happened. But Paul and my partner Carl were taking it reasonably seriously. Carl because he's still learning competitive, Paul because he was kind of helping Kyle learn competitive, and then he had Luke and I pretend to fight physically in the corner. So we might have been quite drunk at that point, and then there was a moment where Luke and I just went, "Oh shit, yeah, I guess we do have to focus."
Well, funny that. Oh, Toby, you just love to cause drama. You're such a drama llama. Anyway, we're gonna move on to saying our goodbyes, basically. So the next event that you'll be able to see a lot of us crows at is we're all going to the Oxford Super Major. Dom, I believe you're going up to Hellstorm, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna vlog it as well.
So he's going to vlog that. So you'll be able to see that vlogging of Hellstorm on the Black Crow YouTube. Aaron and Toby will also be doing a little bit of content whilst we're down in Oxford. Probably not in the same way as that, but if you've watched any of our shorts recently, you're probably going to see the next instalment on some of our shorts.
The Chris Owen only fans.
So keep an eye on that, because we've got some very good friends of ours who happen to have bought rooms in the same hotel that we're all staying at, and yeah, if you've caught this short, don't miss out. But we're really looking forward to Dom, to your vlog. We'll be getting that on here, so you'll be able to hear that on here first. Like I said, our new sponsor is Glasshammer. If you put in Black Crow on Glasshammer, when you go to buy anything in the coupon code section, you get 25% off of your Warhammer. That is right. 25% in total comes off, so they've already given you 20. You get an extra 5% off when you put Black Crow in. If you want to get yourself some new terrain, then our sponsor Terrain Forge, they offer us for 5% discount as well with BCG5. If you put that in your coupon code, that gives you 5% off whenever you're getting any Terrain Forge. And we actually have a wonderful Terrain Forge ad to play for you guys right now, and for those who've watched this stream a few times, you've seen this And we just want to say a massive thank you for everybody that's tuned in tonight. Apologies again earlier for when the sound kept dropping out. It seemed that the connections or whatever was going on just fixed itself after a little bit. It's just a way of what happens when you do live streaming. Unfortunately, if we recorded it, it'd be a lot easier. But then we wouldn't be able to get to talk to all of you lovely folks at home. And that's probably what makes the streaming so much fun, because we describe this as being in a pub with our mates. And Discord code epic flail Adam L.
What you can also see with lovely Terrain Forge is you can see it in action this weekend with one of our battle reports on the Sunday, and there's also going to be another Learn to Play video, which uses the terrain, which is going to focus on missions. So if you want to try and learn a little bit more about how to play missions, and you want to go in at maybe a bit more entry level, perfect time to start. It'll be Josh and Sai hosting that, who are fantastic, wonderful hosts as well.
And if you want to also get to chat to us a little bit more in the community, we have our Discord link in the bottom there. You can come and chat to us. We are starting to pick up TTS more, so if you want to arrange TTS with some of our crows who are learning it, feel free, come in, drop in. Dom's nothing but a bully. We don't care about Dom.
Oh, we haven't mentioned that game, have we yet?
No, we're not going to do that. We won't bring that up on live stream. However, a big thank you from us at Black Crow Gaming. Thank you, Dom, for joining us again. It's always a pleasure, and thank you everybody else for being part of the evening. Bye.